Welcome, everyone, back to this episode of Pallet Town. It is one of the trifecta of Aphex Twin Collapse EP review discussions. And I guess we're supposed to be talking about this EP while we play this game. And that's going to be a little difficult, but Pokemon's pretty mindless. So I will just grind and talk about Aphex Twin Collapse. I did not know what an EP was until a few days ago, or until today actually, courtesy of this Aphex Twin EP. Apparently it is something in between a single and an album, basically a mini album, in which there were not enough songs to warrant calling it a full album. But here we are. So this Aphex Twin album, it's electronic music as far as I can tell. And I feel more comfortable commenting on something like this because it doesn't have any lyrics. It does in one particular song, but I mean, there's only like one line in the whole thing, and I don't know how to properly critique lyrics. And so that makes this Collapse EP perfect for me to comment on. Not really, because I'm very uneducated when it comes to music criticisms, but I can try my darndest to give you my thoughts. And it's electronic music, as I mentioned, and it's very moody. You get lots of bleep bloops, and they often evoke feelings of a technology-saturated dystopia. At least that's what I got out of it. My assumption is that you can get whatever you want out of this Aphex Twin Collapse EP. Whatever you'd like to get out of it. Oh, ditto, he became me. So, what I found interesting is that each song kind of has a case of ADHD. It often shifts every minute or so into something quite different. And it'll vary on whether or not that different thing that it shifts into is actually relevant to the way that the song started, the way that the piece started. And things start with the track called T69 Collapse. And that set a very good tone for the rest of the EP here, and I felt that it was probably the strongest song in the collection. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's very grungy, deep and dark sounding, lots of bass pumping rhythm. You get, like, it's almost psychedelic in nature, especially paired with the official music video. It looks very psychedelic. And then you get the first shift that kind of partway morphs it into something less interesting, I felt, and had less of a melodic through line, which I did not appreciate. I just healed twice, whatever. And then the song T69 Collapse, it takes like another shift that feels a bit more minimalistic, but it, I felt like the third shift wasn't quite as strong as the first leg of the track, but I definitely liked it more than the second leg. And so overall I felt that the T69 Collapse track was very solid. I enjoyed it. Very solid opening track. And it reminds me of playing, what's that game? Reminds me of a Sega Genesis game I played growing up that I forgot what it was called. But Tucker played it as part of the Socket series, so look out for that. Find it on YouTube because it's out there. The old Socket channel. Man, it's going to bother me what that's called now. I put Subnautica, but that's not right. Anyways, so that was T69 Collapse, very solid opening track that I enjoyed. And then we go into First 44. And it has an extremely heavy bass beginning. It reminds me of the stuff my little brothers listen to because they want to make the house shake with their subwoofers. And it uses some echoing vocals that I don't really feel like added anything to the song itself. And the opening also kind of uses this incessant clapping soundbite and distorts it. And there's a future song that also uses that same clap soundbite, which I found interesting. But it's just incessant, and it just feels scattered throughout. They never really synthesized those sound effects into any meaningful melody. I felt that this First 44 track in particular made good ambient music because there isn't really much that stands out. It's just kind of going along in the background. But this, like every other song on this EP, transitions into something that's a bit more interesting than how it started out. And this song in general kind of really illustrates how each track slowly morphs into something else over the runtime, which is a cool effect, but it means that the good stuff is so quickly just set aside in order to get to something different, like immediately afterwards. It's just constantly doing something else all the time. But yeah, this first 44 track, I felt it was okay. Not particularly interesting, like I mentioned. It makes good background music. Can't complain about it too much. And it reminds me of Extreme G. Extreme G2, which I played a lot on the N64 back in the day. Subterranea. That's the game that I was thinking of. T69 Collapse reminds me of the game Subterranea. I feel like it could have been ripped right out of that soundtrack. Anyways, then we go to the song MT1 T29R2. Oh, and that is not the worst name track on this list, on this EP. And this song I actually kind of liked quite a bit. It begins with like this ominous, otherworldly droning melody that's punctuated with like these undulating whirs in the background, which was really cool. And then it quickly shifts from one thing to the next. I really enjoyed that opening, but it quickly kind of just leaves it behind. And then there's some undertones of that opening, very, very sparsely throughout the later portions of the track, but I really liked kind of like the mood and ambiance it set immediately. And this track, this MT1 T29R2, is probably my favorite track on this EP, if not the first one. So I felt this one was very strong, and I actually enjoyed pretty much every shift it took. But the name is very stupid. How are you supposed to search for this track, let alone find it? This is some hipster crap. Like, we're living in an age where someone's like, oh, I don't care, they'll find it on Spotify anyways. So they just name tracks whatever they want. I don't know. I'm not familiar with this artist, so I can't say, I'm speaking from a point of experience at all, but MT1 T29R2 is my favorite track. And then we go to, oh boy, here we go. A track named Abundance 10 Edit brackets 2 R8s, comma, FZ20M ampersand A909 close brackets. Good lord, is this some crap? Absolutely atrocious name. And this song was also probably my least favorite song on the record, on the EP. So, yeah, was not really into it. It opens with like this really creepy, echoing human-esque voices that aren't really saying anything specific. And again, it does these clapping sound effects over and over and then like pitch shifts them and reuses them. And this one actually has lyrics. It says, being taken to a land of abundance. And I feel like I can critique the lyrics here because I don't understand how that kind of pertains to this song in particular. It kind of stands in stark contrast to that lyric, I felt. It doesn't really evoke any kind of abundance other than having a lot of repetition, which I felt was kind of something I did not enjoy about that song, was how much repetition there was in it. So overall, the track was okay. Definitely my least favorite. It doesn't stand out at all compared to the rest of the album, the rest of the EP. And it's content with repetition more so than the other tracks, which change almost every minute, which led me to be kind of disappointed in that song based on kind of what the other songs had going for them. And then we've got the last song of the EP, Phtex, Phtex. It's Phtex. This is actually almost a good name. I mean, I could almost pronounce it. Not really, but I could almost do it. And this one begins akin to Echo to the Dolphin on Sega Genesis. That's what this song reminded me of, at least the beginning, because it's got this echoey and eerie reverberating tones, very similar to Echo, which kind of like reminds me of like being stranded in this in this desolate ocean. And I really liked that opening, very ominous, really cool sounding. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, it really freaked me out as a kid, these kind of just reverberating tones, those echoey tones, Echo the Dolphin-esque sounds. And then it just quickly shifts to something that's more full of noises. It's really does not maintain that tone throughout the entirety of the song. And I think that's fine. I mean, the rest of the song I thought was fine. It was doing things that I thought were pretty enjoyable. And so overall, I felt that this was still kind of somewhat of a weak track, but not too bad. It wasn't doing much for me, but that beginning I thought was really solid. I wish they would have, followed those moods a little more closely, instead of just transitioning immediately into something that didn't feel like it meshed very well with the rest of the song. But yeah, that was it. That was all the tracks. I mean, how many songs is that? That's like 5 songs, maybe 6. It's not a lot. Overall, I felt it was, it was pretty good. I felt it was pretty good. I liked some of the experimental sounds that it was dealing with there, because all of them kind of had this pretty consistent feel. The whole soundscape did. It definitely used sounds and noises that were not organic, but felt like they could have been. Felt like they were almost grounded in reality, despite the fact they definitely weren't. So I really appreciated that. And they definitely put you in a certain headspace. Like I was mentioning, it kind of has that feel of like a technology-laden dystopia, which I liked. If I had to slap a score on this album, on this EP, I would probably err on the side of a 6, a solid 6, because I felt it was above average. There's plenty of albums I listen to that I just become immediately disinterested in, and I felt that T69 Collapse song really captured my attention. It made me want to listen to the rest of it, despite the fact that the rest of it definitely did not maintain that level of quality, which was fine. I mean, it was still okay overall. And so yeah, I'd give Aphex Twin Collapse's EP a 6 out of 10. There you go. I talked about an album from a position of complete incompetence and lack of experience. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I disdained it. And I figured I could use some of my Pokemon time here to talk about the games I did not get to mention on the podcast that I did finish. Like, for example, one game I finished was a game by the name of Stay. I was provided a review code courtesy of the publisher PQ. Stay was an indie game released about a week or two ago. And it's a narrative-driven experience in which you follow this dude named Quinn, who wakes up stranded in some kind of like cellar, some kind of dark corridor with nothing but a computer in front of him, and you play as the character communicating to him through this chat window. And it's a pretty neat setup, and it has this mechanic called like the stay mechanic, the stay timer. And basically what that does is the game keeps track of the amount of time you're not spending playing it. So if you quit for a period of time, a timer will start and it will keep track of how long you spend away from the game. And it seems like a cool gimmick. It seems like they could do a lot with it from a thematic standpoint, from a story development standpoint, from a character development standpoint. But instead, what they do with this mechanic is just kind of put in place arbitrary time limits, and then as soon as you're gone for a certain period of time, it's just game over because Quinn gets mad at you for being gone for so long. He's like, "Why were you gone forever? What the heck? You're a dummy." And then he takes the computer and throws it against the wall because I guess he doesn't like you. And that was my main issue with Stay, is this stupid main character Quinn. I did not like him at all, and that's not good because you basically spend the entire game just chatting with him in this chat window. You choose one of multiple options, one of multiple conversation options to talk to him about while he's just chatting with you on this chat application. And he's very annoying. He's very abrasive. Like, one of the first things he says is, "Man, I'm just a dude who has a crappy life and, just like anyone else." I'm like, who talks like that? Nobody. If you want to get the heck out of there, the first thing you're going to say isn't, "Wow, my life really sucks." The first thing you're going to say is, "Hey, what the heck's going on?" and trying to figure it out. So I felt like Quinn kind of soured the whole experience. There were some puzzles in Stay that were fun, but that main character, oof, not pleasant. not fun to interact with at all, which is bad because the entire game was just interacting with him. Well, that is this episode of Pallet Town. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be seeing you again come 2 episodes time.